So this is some pictures of our accelerator in New York. So it's about 8,500 square feet of space, and we have quite a few. We've sort of taken on 10 startups that they're in very much their early stages, the sort of angel stage, to try it with the objective of trying to get them to a position where they can get seed funding, and we help them out by giving them space in the office. Got a bunch of, we have a partnership with MakerBot, so we have loads of kind of 3D printers, including a really fancy objet printer, which is quite a bit more advanced than the kind of MakerBot printers. Like sort of space for discussions and seminars, and a sort of hardware hacking space there with soldering stations and all kinds of crazy stuff for buildings. That's kind of like, it's a real thing, and it's very impressive. And we're working with startups that are coming from all over the world, even though it's based in New York. So I guess one of the questions would be, why is RGA doing an accelerator program? It seems like a strange thing for an agency to do, and it's actually not that surprising. And in fact, there are loads of them. We're not even the first or by any means, and there's some of the competitors who have been doing that for quite some time, and some of them. But I think the thing is that it's a bit of a chancy game. Like, it's not certainly no guarantee of success. And I think we like to think that our program is more successful than the average of the other agencies who are doing accelerator programs, and we think that's because we bring something quite useful to that mix, and I'll sort of explain about what I think that is. But it's also really valuable for us as well, so it's a symbiotic kind of relationship. I think the reason why I think we think that RGA can add value or can help startups is because I think that traditionally, or that sort of the support for startups has tended to focus on technology support and obviously financial support. But one of the things that is really difficult is you can get a product built, but then if you don't build a brand or have a communications strategy to take your product to market, then even if it's a great product, it still might not be successful, which would be really disappointing. And there's loads of historical precedents of technology that's better that mysteriously doesn't become the kind of de facto standard, like, I guess Betamax being the kind of one that, you probably don't remember that because you're too young, but the best technology doesn't always prevail, and the reason for that is to do with, I think, largely to do with communications and advertising, which kind of sucks, but that's the world we live in. And so, given that we live in a world where that is the landscape, well, we need to be good at dealing with that world. So I think in RGA, we believe that we're quite good at advertising and quite good at getting people to transform their opinions about brands and buy their products, which is sort of ultimately what we want to happen. And when we think that like a lot of this is becoming, this lack of design and marketing nous in the industry is being recognised, and so there are like VC firms are now trying to employ or trying to recruit really senior designers from outside of the industry because they're like realising that this is a difficult problem. And we feel like because we're already there, so one of our things, we believe we're sort of at the intersection of a number of very exciting things that make us well positioned to kind of help out with startup ventures. And so obviously we see ourselves at the intersection of both software and hardware, because we've got some kind of expertise in building connected products. We sort of, although famously Nike don't want to continue with the hardware part of this, we partnered with them to build the Fuel Band, which is a sort of a pretty successful connected product. That will continue, despite Nike is now sort of not going to carry on building the hardware because I think they've realised that it's such a successful idea that people like Apple and others will do that. There's no point in trying to compete on the hardware front. We're going to carry on with the sort of the software and the fuel side of it. But I think that obviously that's given us a huge amount of experience of building a connected product, which was actually a lot more difficult. I think it's very easy to think, oh great, we've got some Arduino and a Raspberry Pi and a soldering iron, and you can build connected products. So actually, you sort of need a lot more electrical engineering skill than that. But we're also at the intersection, as I said before, of design and technology. I think we don't just have technologists sitting around with soldering irons and hacking away at Node. We have designers that we've like some of the best designers in the industry, interaction designers, visual designers, copywriters, all sort of people who can bring the story side of the branding to a kind of technology product. And possibly the other interesting part of it is that we're also at the intersection of between big global brands like Nike or many others that we work with, and startups. So we are in a position where we can help a startup by introducing them to a brand who might want to partner up to use their technology and bring it to a mass market. That could be very useful, So that's one reason why we think we can be quite helpful at that to startups. And it's good for us because it helps. Well, there's lots of reasons really. I think that my favourite one is the fact that it's really great fun. Everyone loves working in the Accelerator program. They give up their free time to help out, to kind of contribute their skills and their advice and soldering iron skills to help the startups, and that really helps build. Helps attract talent to us, and it helps us retain it because people want to be working in these. They want to do interesting work. They don't want to just sort of do stuff for big brands. They want to have a mixture of kind of innovation and exciting new stuff, as well as kind of the sort of traditional advertising fare. And it helps us deepen our products and services, as we say here. And maybe, if we're very serious about this and do it very well, then it could also become in the future a revenue stream. The idea is if we help startups become successful, then we will benefit from that in the long run. So that's why we're doing it. Why do we do? Why? And so in our first, so we have probably a bit of background is that we have a kind of we have a what we call the class of each year, where we select a bunch of startups from like hundreds of people will apply, and we select 10. And the first time we ran it, which was this year that's just passed, and we focused on connected devices as our sort of the theme, if you like, of what we were looking for from the startups that we work with. And we did that because I think we've always had a bit of a heritage in connected devices, and RGA started out in the 70s as a visual effects studio, believe it or not, and then has had several transformations every decade or so. We reinvent ourselves as something else. And this is, I always forget what it's called, it's the Oxbury CompuQuad Special Effects Optic Printer from 1987 that our founder and CEO Bob Greenberg apparently built in order to do something with special effects. I'm actually not sure what it does, but it looks pretty impressive. So we've always been building crazy machines, and then obviously we worked with Nike to build Nike Fuel Band and the kind of infrastructure around Nike Plus that is kind of very useful. We sort of also see that there's a sort of trend for hardware brands now trying to become software brands, and equally the inverse of that, which is software companies kind of moving into hardware. So that's kind of an interesting place to be. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about the startups that we work with in this year that's just been. And we had 236 startups applied to come and be part of it. They were from lots of different places, which is quite interesting. And so we had these are the ones we work with. So we had Enitiv is a sort of energy monitoring system for mid-sized businesses. It's sort of a bit more than just, you've probably all got smart meters at home, or you can basically look at, you can connect it to the mains line and you can see how much energy you're using overall. This one's a little bit more granular, so it can let a business see how much energy is being used in specific parts of their offices, and it provides alerts and dashboards to sort of say, oh, you've kind of wasted a lot of electricity in that meeting room. Someone left the lights on or whatever. We got Footmarks is they do sort of beacons, but they provide heat. We provide heat maps, so you can see where footfall traffic is going inside your retail space, so you can work out where are people tending to walk around inside the building. Grove, quite interesting, the sort of hydroponic agriculture monitoring and sensor device, which lets you kind of track how your hydroponic farm is going, which could be very useful. And then Hammerhead is a very interesting connected product for sort of what we call social cycling. Keen Home is a it's quite similar to Enitiv in a way. It's a sort of smart ducting for a house, so like a bit like Nest, how you can control your thermostat, but instead of just controlling your overall house temperature, it lets you control individual rooms. Owlet is quite useful for, it's a monitoring device for babies. You can, it monitors heart rate, breathing, and a number of other factors, and so overly concerned parents can watch dashboards of their child's health and worry themselves needlessly about minor variations in it. If I can go through, if anyone's interested in some of the other aspects of this, but there's quite a few different things here. I don't want to kind of use up too much of everyone's time, so stay on target. But yeah, we worked with 10 startups. They were very varied. They were quite interesting.